Today on Rambling About Cars, Chevrolet shocks us with all kinds of electric vehicle news. We embark on an awesome Halloween car search adventure, and I might lose my voice before the podcast is over. How awesome might that be, everybody? Cross your fingers because it's podcast time. I'm Christopher Smith, and across the way, Mr. Chris Bruce, and we have a special guest here today.
We do. We have Kyle Freudenberg with us, who is your associate video producer. Is that your title?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's my official title. I do a little bit of everything on the video end.
Yeah. Basically, you work with Clint to do all sorts of video stuff for us.
Mm-hmm.
And this is your first time on the show, and that means something very special. That means you have to take the Rambling About Cars quiz.
I forgot about that. But first, Bruce, what do we have to tell people to do?
Everybody subscribe to the show.
Like, subscribe, hit that damn button. If for no other reason, you might listen to a show where, I don't know, I've been sick for a few days and I might lose my voice before we get to the end. I think that might be kind of awesome. So definitely hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit whatever it takes so you know that we're putting out our new episodes. And now the quiz. I totally forgot about the quiz. I'm glad you said that.
Well, Kyle, we'll keep it short this time. So, what is your favorite car from the 1980s?
Honda CRX, for sure.
Okay. What is your favorite car from the 1990s?
Ooh, that one's tougher. If I'm going off top, I guess I'd probably say a Supra, but there's a couple options there. Maybe a Del Sol, which was just the 90s version of the CRX.
Okay.
Del Sol, okay.
What is your current daily driver?
Honda Fit.
You are a Honda guy.
Honda.
Yeah. Hey. Smith, help me out.
Choice. Convertible, hardtop, or T-top?
Hard top, probably.
Okay. And you know what? I forget our last question, so let's get into the show.
Okay, we can do that. There's lots to talk about here. It's an electrifying event. As we're recording this today, General Motors came out with all kinds of electric news. They had their GM Investor Day where they gave speeches and they were talking about what they're doing for the future. And probably the big one is that they announced the Chevrolet Silverado EV will debut early January 2022 at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. This is the first time they've committed to an actual date. Mm-hmm. And it's just a little bit later than what they were planning. Originally, it was going to be late 2021. Okay, they're missing it by a few days with COVID, with the semiconductor shortage. I think it's fair to say they get a pass on this, Bruce.
Totally. Also, so Mary Barra is going to announce it, show it off during her keynote address at the opening of CES. And honestly, it makes sense. The biggest show before then would be the LA Auto Show in November 2021. Honestly, more eyes are going to be on CES than are going to be on the LA Auto Show. Press from all over the world are going to be in Las Vegas at that point in time. It makes sense to, push it what amounts to a few days to get an even bigger audience for, the EV pickup they're actually going to sell in volume, I suspect. We have the Hummer EV that's going to begin deliveries before the end of the year, but that thing starts at 80, 90. Oh no, the early ones are over $100,000.
Yeah,
the launch edition.
The launch editions are over $100,000, and even the entry level, and I use that term loosely, is still I think $80,000 if I'm remembering off the top of my head.
You're right.
79 and change. So,
and that doesn't come until 2022, I think, like 2022 calendar year. So we're going to have this first, more than likely. Well, we're going to have this in an affordable form first before we have those. So it's kind of a big deal, and you can understand why they would deliver it there. Their announcement was kind of so I wrote this up for us, and it was kind of funny. They touted that it's going to have the largest fixed. They wanted to make that clear. Largest fixed glass roof available in the segment. So it's not going to be a standard feature. It'll be an option. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can see it now. It's obviously a massive panel, but as I pointed out in the story, the Hummer EV SUV and truck also have a massive panel, but that one's removable. Right. So that you're kind of splitting hairs there. Removable, fixed, whatever.
I mean, they're looking for something interesting to say. That's what they got to do. One thing that we talked about in our team's discussion today Looking at this teaser photo, it's a very dark teaser photo, just looking down from the top into the cabin, but you clearly see a very large portrait display on the dash, and it looks very bright. Now, maybe it's done on purpose for this teaser. Obviously, with this being an electric truck, it's going to have some pretty sizable digital screens inside. But we were talking about whether or not that's going to be just super distracting to try to drive.
Yeah, I was actually the one that brought that up, and I think it will. To me, I think it would be. Granted, this is coming from someone who I owned a Saab and my mom owned a Saab, and they famously have like the night panel where only the speedometers illuminate. You can turn off all the lights. So, you know, at night, it is kind of nice to drive with as few distractions as possible. I'm not going to call out the Silverado now. You can probably dim this screen. I hope there's like a night mode where the contrast changes, something like that. Let's not call it out, but it does look big and bright in this picture.
It does that, and I'm with you. I've never had the pleasure of owning a Saab, but when I'm out driving at night, I do everything possible to black out the lights in the cockpit, because that lets your vision just dial in better on what's going on outside. Kyle, what do you think about this the Silverado teaser?
I'm liking it. It's really interesting to see a lot more electric pickup trucks, or at least concepts for electric pickup trucks, hit the market. I kind of feel like the category, or the opportunity for electric vehicles, especially in places like pickups and SUVs, American automakers are really, really pushing hard into this, which is interesting because I think, I already mentioned my favorite cars in the 80s, 70s. Japanese automakers had a huge lane into the American automaker space. And now I feel like the opposite is happening, where a lot of Ford automakers are kind of, other than, some European automakers, aren't paying attention to electric vehicles, and American automakers are really, really pushing hard into it.
Yeah, I think, I can't wait to see this and a lightning showdown with Rivian. I say Tesla Cybertruck, but we kind of don't know when that's coming up. And actually, this article, Bruce, that you just wrote, getting a lot of traffic. It's like there's 32 comments. This article is only a few hours old.
So it went up at noon. So within, as of this recording, in 8 hours, 32 comments. For us, that's pretty good. When I signed off today at like 5, it was like 25 or so comments. So,
and right off the bat, I don't have it right in front of me, but it was.
I've got it here. So
okay. Why don't you go ahead and read some of these? We won't say names.
Although I'm screen sharing, so if you're watching on YouTube, you're gonna see their name. But
yeah, you can see the name. But hey, it's a public comment on a public article. But I think some of these are just gold.
So the top one you and I were talking about before we started the show, and GM will produce a massive 24 of these in 2023.
The way things are going with the production shortages, hey, that might actually be the case, right?
But the person commenting, I really liked, that's still 24 more than Tesla will make of Cybertrucks in 2023.
Oh, burn!
That was good. So
burn.
There was one person I want to shout out here because I thought their comment, it was funny, which, it's good for comments to be, but there was also a good point there. And so this person says, GM has been the biggest electric vehicle teaser out there. First, they build the pioneering EV1, then they crush it. Build the first plug-in hybrid SUV, the Saturn Vue, and then cancel it. Build the Volt, and then cancel it and kill the entire Voltec line. Build the first affordable long-range EV with the Chevy Volt EV, and then cripple it with a weak DC fast charging network, and then have them recalled because they catch on fire.
Because it burns up, yeah. Yep. That's such a succinct description of GM's efforts in electrification.
It's like 25 years of GM EV history put into 4 bullet points, and they're all accurate.
They're all completely accurate. I feel like there've been so many. I can't even say swings and misses because it feels like they started out as hits, and then for some reason GM was like, "Yeah, let's just go ahead and just walk back home, and we'll let the other team go up to bat."
Pretty much. I mean, if I'm being maybe this is slightly cynical. They realized they could make more money on other vehicles. They realized they could make more money on trucks or SUVs or things like that than they could make on Volts or EV1s or whatever. They probably broke even. Maybe they probably lost money on the EV1, and they just didn't see a way forward. And I'm not going to blame the accountants or the bean counters, but they were probably saying, hey, we can make twice, 3 times, 4 times selling a Silverado than we ever can a Bolt.
Yeah,
whatever.
But I buy that. I can accept that for like the first failure or like the first 2 failures. But when you start talking about like the Volt, okay, as we move into that era, it's clear electrification is happening. Mm-hmm. It is the future. Making the decision at that point to continue with cash cow trucks and SUVs, I think, is just horrifically short-sighted. You have to be looking some distance down the road. And I think you're exactly right. I think they were just looking at the money rolling in, and we'll just keep more of the same, not bothering to put any sort of long-term sustainable plan into place. And now here they are, late 2021 with a car that catches on fire. And that's pretty much it for electrification, while everybody else is just leaping past them. I mean, they need to pick this up. And according to what they're saying today, I mean, they sounds like they have a plan in place now. They're going to move rapidly. Do we want to segue into Ultra Cruise?
I was hoping. I wanted Kyle to kind of weigh in as the youngest of us here.
Oh yeah,
and tell us. Are we right? Are we wrong? Are we off base?
No. I think you guys are pretty much right on target. The Volt was a weird one. I know LA is kind of a microcosm, but when that car came out, I saw a ton of them on the road. I knew a couple people who bought them and were super enthusiastic about them. So I was really kind of shocked that Chevy killed that off so quickly, because at least in this market, it seemed like it was doing relatively well. The prospect of an electric pickup, I feel like, is really interesting. And I'm not a truck guy at all, but this last week when we were testing for the Star Awards for Motor One, we were in a hybrid F-150.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah. No, I think we can mention it.
Okay.
There's something going on there with Motor One that we can mention later.
Right.
That includes some cool vehicles.
Yeah. I don't think we can mention any of the specific vehicles yet, but I think we're okay to mention it.
Okay.
But anyway, so we were out on a shoot this last week, and we were in a F-150 hybrid the whole week, which has Pro Power, and that was awesome for just charging stuff out in the field and getting stuff done. And I feel like for people that are working construction or on a work site every day, the ability to power a lot of your gear, equipment with your car is, would give them a reason to upgrade their trucks, which they might have not been looking at before. So I feel like just from a utilitarian perspective, a lot of these electric trucks are going to be able to gain a foothold in the market. But it's super, it's really interesting seeing these brands, kind of cook up electric vehicles and say they're pushing really hard into it, and then a couple of years later they're discontinued.
So actually, let me ask you about that, because the Lightning is coming, and it's going to have a lot of those similar abilities that you can plug stuff into it. With the F-150 hybrid, and we're not going to talk about the awards. Trust me, that's a future episode. We've already kind of got that set, so we're not going to talk about that part. But just with the F-150 hybrid, what were you guys plugging into it? Was it just cameras and batteries and stuff like that?
Camera batteries. It was my laptop. We were kind of in the middle of nowhere, so we didn't have a lot of availability to charge stuff on the go. So yeah, I was powering my laptop with it. I was powering camera batteries with it, recharging stuff. Without that, truck and the Pro Power there, we kind of would have been stranded without power. We would have definitely had to cut some shoots short that we were able to,
or bring like a generator along, a separate generator.
Yeah, exactly. And I was looking into generators after the shoot because it was, it was so nice. But it has a ton of power. I was able to power my laptop all week without any problem, and recharge camera batteries and everything. And it's not just the generator itself; it's also that there's 3 or 4 power outlets in that truck.
Cool.
Well, I totally agree with you. And you've heard it here first, folks. once the diehard truck people get over their just kind of crazy need for some sort of V8 power, whether it's gas or diesel or inline six for the Ram guys, once they get over that need and they realize that electric power is so much more useful, you get it immediate, you get it now, and for most cases an electric pickup truck is going to be far better once they realize that, and they realize the functionality like you were just talking about, being able to just power stuff. You're driving around a big battery,
right?
You're driving around a big battery for contractors, for people, for companies, for fleet use. If you have a company contracting business where you're doing construction in a 50 or 60 mile radius of a certain town, you're not going to be going 300 miles. You're not going to have to worry about ever stopping to fuel it up. You just plug it in at night and you power all of your stuff at the work site. It's going to be such a game changer. It's just the biggest challenge will be convincing the dedicated truck crowd that it's okay to give up an internal combustion engine.
Mm-hmm. No, so I can give you a microcosm of that. My dad, he retired last year in 2020, but he worked for a construction company. And his boss, when the aluminum-bodied Ford pickups came out, he got invited to some event to check them out because they were a big fleet buyer. And he was knocking on them to is this just a beer can or And he said, my dad has told me that they did not immediately adopt those Ford trucks, that they had previously bought them, but they really preferred the steel body ones for a while until there was no other kind of alternative. And I wonder if that's going to be the same thing, that kind of construction companies or fleet buyers or things like that, they're going to get pulled kicking and screaming in, and then eventually realize, oh, this kind of works. Okay, we like it.
Yeah.
I think just the functionality of it is going to convince a lot of people. I think once you, and again, I'm not a truck guy at all. I'm not someone that is normally, other than for production work, is using a truck or an SUV for anything. And just the functionality of that car was like completely blew me away. And that's just the hybrid. We're not even talking about an EV yet, which could potentially, that hybrid powered our gear for a week. An EV could potentially, power your gear for weeks on end, depending on how much you're using it.
Yeah, when they were showing off the Lightning, when they were showing it to Biden, I want to say, they were talking about, in some place, a flood, a tornado, whatever knocks out your house. Conceivably, you could plug a lot of your stuff into the Lightning, and for, a day or two at least, not an extended period of time, but for a short period of time, you could still have power, which that still makes the difference. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I remember they showed that off in their presentation. It was actually right after those floods in Texas, if I remember right.
I think so.
And yeah, they showed it powering a house for multiple days, which is a huge boon to anyone who owns a car like that. And in the case of a natural disaster, or even just a power outage for a couple of days, or a day.
So many differences, but so much functionality. We just gotta bop people in the head and get them to realize it.
That's right. Do we want to talk about Ultra Cruise now?
Yeah, because I think this will be another bop in the head. So as part of GM's announcement today with their investor day, they also, and this came as a complete surprise to me. I don't know about you guys. I hadn't heard anything like this was in the works at all.
Oh, it had been. Yeah, they had trademarked Ultra Cruise, I want to say, and we did some speculation on it. There was speculation, but nothing official.
So yeah, well, now it's official. GM Ultra Cruise is revealed. And what is it? It's Super Cruise amped up to the nth degree. It's basically going to be GM's version of Tesla's full self-drive system, where
don't call it that. That's not what it is.
It's not. I'm just going by Tesla's name. I know
it's wrong.
It's not full self-drive because that capability isn't there yet. We'll discuss this here in a bit.
Okay.
But for comparison purposes, GM's Ultra Cruise, GM says that it will be eventually usable for 95% of all driving scenarios. It will be available on all paved roads in the US and Canada eventually. It's going to launch with up to 2 million miles of roads. And then GM estimates that eventually, as the system learns and gathers more data, it'll be used on 3.4 million miles of paved roads. And this system will do everything. It will handle left turns. It will handle right turns. It will do obstacle avoidance. It will be able to monitor speed signs, check speed, adjust your speed. It's supposed to be a point A to point B, door-to-door, hands-free driving system. And it's going to debut for the 2023 model year for Cadillac. We don't have all of the information on the system yet because it's not a teaser, it's revealed, but they didn't reveal all the information. As automakers tend to do,
lot, if we're being honest.
Yeah, I mean, as automakers tend to do nowadays, they didn't reveal everything. So, I mean, I wrote this one up earlier today. As I said, without getting too technical, it'll have a new display that the drivers can look at versus Super Cruise, which is just kind of a glorified cruise control. Hey, Super Cruise is on. It will have a new display that's similar to that which will be unnamed from Tesla, Bruce. It will be similar to that in that the display screen will show the driver exactly what the system sees, and in theory, it should be what the driver sees, right? So that way you can monitor and see, oh, okay, the system doesn't see this semi truck a quarter mile up the road that's broken down half in the lane. That's a big deal. Mm-hmm. It'll have a 360-degree system. The main thing that's different here with the system, which will be unnamed from Tesla, is that Tesla Tesla uses just cameras. GM is using cameras. They're using radar. They're using LiDAR,
which is probably the most important of the three.
They're combining it all together. In what GM, they didn't specifically call out Tesla or anybody in their announcement, but they did allude that this was going to be the best system available. And it's going to, more information is coming. I'm trying to remember. Let me take a look at my article here because I can't remember exactly when more information is coming. I think they're going to talk about more of Ultra Cruise at CES. But yeah, it's coming for 2023, but it's only going to be offered on premium models. And they're saying Cadillac to start with. Presumably, maybe you could get it on like some high-end GMC Sierra products, the Denali products.
If you remember, Super Cruise was only available on Cadillacs to start with.
Yep.
And I can get to this in a second. And
it's still kind of not available on Cadillacs. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, because of the chip shortage, you can't get it on the new Escalade. We were talking about that last week. But the chip shortage has kind of stymied GM's whole kind of rollout. They intended to roll this out to a lot of lesser vehicles. The Silverado was supposed to get it. Sierras were supposed to get it, and we kind of don't know. We definitely know that the Escalade, the 2022 Escalade, right? Or 2023?
2022.
Yeah, that you're not going to be able to get it on because they don't have the chips for you to get it on.
Right. Well, temporarily.
It's not long term. No.
Yeah, we did get a hold of Cadillac. They did say that it was going to be temporary, but temporary, they have no idea how long it might be. And it's, of course, Super Cruise was also going to be offered for 2022 on the Silverado and Sierra pickups, but that's kind of in question now since it's not available on Cadillac. Presumably, if they don't have it for Escalade, they're not going to have it for Silverado or Sierra unless it comes later on. So technically, right now, I think the only vehicle you can get Super Cruise on is the Bolt,
which is the old version, though, that doesn't have
the old version. Yeah, it's not the so to sum up, because you might be a little confused right now, listeners. GM launched Super Cruise like 2 or 3 years ago, and they slowly. Well, they offered it on the CT6, which they then
the first one to get it, yeah.
Which they then canceled.
Correct.
This sounds kind of familiar. Weren't we talking about this like 15 minutes ago?
Yeah.
And then they came out with an advanced Super Cruise that does a little bit more, and they offered it on Escalade.
Well, they were going to offer it on a bunch. Escalade was going to be the first to get it. I'm pulling that story up now.
I think it's also on like XT4 and CT4, CT5, but we're not sure if those cars are actually shipping with Super Cruise yet.
Correct. Yes.
So it may only be available in base mode on the Bolt right now, which occasionally catches on fire.
So here is the story. I wrote this up. This is from July of this year.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, GM promised that there was going to be an upgraded version of Super Cruise that would be capable of operating while you were towing something, because the previous version would not let you tow and use Super Cruise at the same time. And so the improved tech, it was going to be on the 2022 Escalade, which we now know because of the chip shortage, it won't be, or at least not for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
This Cadillac CT4, CT5, the 2022 Silverado, the Hummer EV pickup, the GMC Sierra, and so the XT6 and the Bolt EUV, they still have Super Cruise, but they don't get the upgrade.
Okay, XT6. I was mistaken.
That, who knows? Like,
but it's unclear.
It's a complicated time right now.
It's unclear if any of those have it right now. So and now GM comes out with Ultra Cruise, and it's like, guys, you don't even have your Super Cruise kind of figured out yet. And you're talking about Ultra Cruise that'll do 95% of all driving duties. I mean, and I mean, they're not giving us a lot of confidence here, you know?
And Smith, this is not to like bust you or anything, but I do just want to say, so this is from 2020, May of 2020.
Oh God, I wrote it even.
But anyway, GM Ultra Cruise advanced autonomous tech reportedly in the works. So we have kind of had an inkling that this has been under development, but yeah, until today, we didn't know it was an actual thing, and that it was actually.
I don't remember what I had for breakfast 2 days ago. Never mind what I wrote on May 19th, 2020.
So yeah,
we knew something was in the works, but now, I mean,
we know for sure.
Nobody knew it was coming this quick. Like I said, they don't even have their Super Cruise kind of figured out yet. They don't have Super Cruise rolled out in any grand fashion whatsoever. And now they're ready to bump it forward to Ultra Cruise. Now, I'll give this some extra context because GM also released a modest press release, just kind of outlining their plan for the near term. And in that plan, they're going to be moving very, very rapidly towards electrification and technology. They're talking about having 50% of their manufacturing plants in the United States and China EV ready by 2030, you know, where they can go full on EV production.
EV ready and building EVs are not the same thing.
Oh yeah. Well, we know GM likes to talk quite a bit, and they tend to overpromise and underdeliver. Cause I mean, that's never happened except always. So it's just, it makes me very nervous about Ultra Cruise, about their handling 95% of driving duties. And Kyle, I need to bring you into this conversation, and it's one of the reasons.
To rest his voice, you need to talk a little bit.
It's one of the reasons why we wanted to have you on, because we were having a discussion earlier today in our Teams chat.
Yep, you asked a really interesting question. I want you to ask that question to me now.
So, do you think, as autonomous cars become more widespread, that eventually we'll reach a point where manually driving cars will be completely banned, off the table entirely?
So, and to reiterate what Kyle is asking is that at some point in time, will you not be able to own or operate a manually driven car? Do I understand that right?
Yeah. I mean, I assume you'd be able to own one. You just wouldn't be able to take it on the road.
Okay, that's kind of sort of the same thing.
Yeah.
And so our boss, John Neff, he kind of disagreed with the answer that I have, and I know the answer that Smith has. And I would say I don't see that happening anytime soon, certainly within my lifetime. Simply because, the oldest car on the road, I looked it up earlier today, I believe the average age of cars on the road right now is 12.3 years. So you would have to cycle through all of those vehicles first before you could mandate some type of autonomous thing. Also, there's always going to be an argument for a vehicle that you can control yourself, whether that's an emergency vehicle like fire, ambulance, police, something like that, that they need to get to a location that maybe, going slightly off road or going in the wrong lane is the right thing to do at that time, even if it's against the rules of the road, but they need to get there quickly, that they might need to do that. Also, the other thing that I made the argument was farming. And Neff made the point that there are autonomous farming vehicles right now. And he's totally right. For gathering grain or corn or whatever. I more meant it in the sense that, to get around your farm, whether it's something that like an ATV or a side-by-side would do now, or a small pickup truck, you're still going to need to do that. And I can't ever imagine a time where an autonomous vehicle, you could just like point to a place on a map and it could automatically take you off-road to that point on your farm site. I just don't think it's going to happen. My caveat on that is that I think in certain places, especially places that, have very controlling governments, very, lots of bureaucracy, lots of government control. I'm kind of thinking of China here, that you could maybe force only autonomous vehicles to be on the road because you have that amount of control. But in the US, I don't see it happening anytime soon.
Well, let's narrow the scope a little bit. So forget about farming, forget about emergency vehicles. Let's say in big urban cities where we're just talking about consumer cars, period. We're just talking about commuter cars. I mean, I could see it happening in a place, I'm in LA. I could see it happening in a place like LA within the next couple of decades, where either there's an outright ban on manually driven vehicles once we reach a point of widespread autonomous vehicles, or they just place really, really high penalties on getting in an accident or anything like that, to the point where it would discourage people from driving manually, even more so than, tickets or any penalties in place already.
So what happens when a person steps out between parked cars and an autonomous car hits them? Through no fault of the autonomous car, if the person steps right out and there's just no time to react, would the same penalty be applied to the owner of that autonomous car? Would the penalty be applied to the manufacturer of the autonomous car? Would the penalty be applied to the software company that designed the systems for the autonomous car? Or would they just throw up their hands and say, dumbass, don't walk out into traffic?
You're bringing up, I think, a slightly separate issue, but a very valid issue that has been brought up before. And it's basically, what is it called? The railway switch problem, as to whether or not you crash into a bunch of vehicles that have people in it or one person in order to save that life.
It's similar to that.
It's similar to that, and it's a really thorny issue, and I don't have a good answer for it. I do see Kyle's point that in metropolitan areas, I can see an argument in your New Yorks, your LAs, maybe your Chicagos, certainly, your Shanghai, Beijing, something like that there really could be an argument for mass autonomous car adoption.
Would those be cars owned by individuals, or would those be like a mobility solution, like a ride share thing where there's a car waiting? Because in big cities, you already have buses, you already have subways, you already have trams and things that can take you around to different places, but cars will take you to specific places. I just don't see it happening in 20 years. I don't see the technology being fine-tuned enough to make it reliable and comfortable for people.
I could see the technology being there, but
the infrastructure won't be there.
Well, maybe. But in my mind, in the end, we're still all human and we have human thoughts. And to me, if I buy a car and put it out, say I go to bed and I can put my car into autonomous mode and it goes and picks up people wherever. I don't trust other people enough not to trash my car. And I don't mean that like destroy it. I mean, pick up some drunk and he pees in the back of my car, vomits in my car, or something like that. And it's still my car. I don't want that. So I would never put it in that mode in order to let that happen.
That's a good point, though. That's a very good point. It's what I hadn't considered until now. If in 20 years you have autonomous cars, think about what might happen if somebody encounters your autonomous car knowing, oh, there's no person in there. I can get away with this. I can get away with that. I can get away with the other. Do you understand what I'm saying? If you're driving down the road and a car cuts you off, not saying that I road rage. Actually, I don't. I'm very calm behind the wheel. Would you react differently if you knew there was no driver or no person in that car? I'm not saying that the autonomous car is going to cut you off, but I'm saying other people might have different nefarious reactions that they wouldn't normally take if they knew there was a person in the car.
And I think what you're bringing up is the idea that it comes to an all or nothing solution. You either have to have practically every 95% of the cars on the road being autonomous, or none of, to a certain extent, not none of them can be, but only the owners can operate the ones that are autonomous. That if there's a car on the road that is autonomous and has no person in it, then it makes you wonder what is happening in around that car when you're not in it. You're bringing up a valid point, I think.
So like, I mean, let's take one of the greatest movies of all time here as an example, Back to the Future.
Okay, yeah.
How did Marty McFly get around Hill Valley? He jumped on his skateboard and he grabbed onto whatever car he could find.
That's right.
Right? So how many people are going to be grabbing onto my car, hitching rides, sucking down my range on my electric car? I mean, there's when I say
you read Snow Crash recently, because that's in that book.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but if
it's a fantastic Neil Stephenson, fantastic book. It's
okay. I'll have to check that out.
But yeah, that happens
when I talk about infrastructure, I mean that's partly what I'm talking about. You can have the technology that's there that works. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work all the time. I think we still have decades of refinement on these systems, to be honest, before they can be trusted by enough people to be a mainstream solution. But then beyond that, we still have to have the infrastructure, the motoring infrastructure set up to where they can work. And I don't think the current infrastructure, which is based on human drivers, meshes with an autonomous system. I just don't see that. I just don't see that ever meshing. There's too many people out there that'll road rage, that'll decide, oh, I'm just going to pump this autonomous car out of my way in my, in my older vehicle, and there's nobody in the car. So, who cares?
But that's exactly why I think eventually it'll reach a point where the government says, or local governments say, no more manually driven cars, because that's a variable that they don't need with autonomous cars on the road. And I think there's huge incentives for local and state governments too, because think about it. You don't have to worry about the buses or the subways or the railroads anymore. You don't have to worry about public transit.
So every person would have an autonomous car then? Is the government going to supply every person with an autonomous car?
No, but I think it'll be the carrot and then the stick. I think there'll be huge incentives to buy an autonomous car because as far as the government's concerned, way less to worry about in terms of crashes, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of, public transit. So I think it would be the same thing as we're seeing with EVs. I think you'd have the government coming in and saying, you'll get a huge tax rebate if you buy an autonomous car to get people to adopt it more quickly. I think employers will start to expect you to be, coming in on an autonomous car, which may mean working from the car, but that's a bigger picture thing.
I mean, that could happen, but we're talking like 100 years. Until the tech is really dialed in.
I don't think so. I think that's all within the next couple of decades. I mean, if you told me when I bought my first car in 2010 that within 12 years there would be fully hands-off cars on the road, I wouldn't have believed you. So
there aren't fully hands-off cars on the road.
The tech is hands-off technically.
The technology, it might be hands-off, but you still have to be sitting there with your hands inches from the wheel, ready to take control. It's a marketing gimmick because those cars, the technology it's not dialed in yet.
Hey guys,
it's not dialed in.
We should table this for now, only because we have something fun to talk about, and while public policy and infrastructure, I'm sure, are fascinating to people, I want to get to something that it actually is going to entertain the folks. So
Kyle, you have good points. I'm glad you're on the show.
Totally good points. Kyle,
they're wrong, but they're good.
Kyle, I'm not censoring you in any way. It's just that I want to get to the fun thing that we prepared. Does that sound good?
This is all fun, but we have something funner because we're gonna do something for Halloween. Oh, yes. Don't we have to read some comments first?
We do. Yeah. Yep. Do you have them up, or do you want me to read the first one?
I have some comments up here.
All right, you do the first one. I'll do the second one.
Let's jump in here. Attacking Third Football. Wow, great podcast. I especially enjoyed the segment on the Jeep Grand Cherokee. I think it is a major improvement on the previous generation and looks really well done. On the Rolls Spectre, it is yet another sports car that suffers from borrowing heavily from a related car. I'm looking at you, Countach, Supra. I don't know. Valid?
Valid in a sense. Let's be honest. The Spectre looks like a Wraith. It looks exactly like a Wraith. And
it's because it's a Wraith.
Well, it's not. It's a different platform. It's a different vehicle. But
it's a Wraith body with different stuff underneath.
It really looks like it. Until Brandon banged into us that no, it's not a Wraith. I just assumed it was. It looks identical. But the difference I would say is, a Supra is a $60,000-$70,000 car. A Spectre is going to cost more than the house I'm sitting in right now. I don't think that market really cares as much as kind of the normal consumer market. It'll sell fine. They'll sell them. They're getting rid of the Wraith anyway, so it's not like they're going to be competing against each other.
Well, let me bring up a point here, though. It looks like the Wraith on the outside, but it's different underneath, right?
Right.
So the F-150 Lightning looks like an F-150 outside, but it's different underneath.
Right.
Is it not an F-150? I mean, I know what Rolls-Royce is trying to do, but
I would say the difference.
But our job is to call them out on it.
You're totally right. I would say the difference is that the Wraith is going away, and the Spectre. Although we have a story up that says the Spectre is not a replacement for the Wraith, that's PR talk. The Spectre is a replacement for the Wraith.
And like you said,
and F-150 Lightning are going to be sold simultaneously.
And like you said, the select few people that will be able to afford one, they're not going to care.
Right.
Not going to care. Do you want to do a comment? I can do some more.
Nope, I've got them all right up here.
All right, jump into the next one.
Let's do our buddy Ted here. Okay. Another great ramble, and you all did beat a dead horse on the Jeep 2-row versus the 3-row, but that's part of the charm. In the world of all things Taurus show, Ford 500 show would have been a much better name for that car than the last gen show. And I have to confess, I had a freestyle for years. It was so big, I felt lonely driving it. That's good. Catch you all next week, gang. Thanks for the podcasting. So what do you think? Would you have rather called it Ford 500 show rather than Taurus show, the latest one that came out?
I mean, the Taurus show, that connects to the 89 model. That connects to
it
the
does.
So,
yeah.
So there's a connection there. I did propose way back in my Ford days when Ford was changing the name from 500 to Taurus. It's like, why don't you call it the Taurus 500? So we would have the Ford 500,
Galaxy 500,
Ford 500 show, Ford Taurus 500 show. I mean, that's the thing is these days is to just keep sticking more stuff on there. Mm-hmm. So you could have the Ford Taurus 500 SHO S-Type V GTR.
Sure, why not?
It doesn't matter because the Ford didn't sell nearly as many as they thought they were going to sell, which is sad, but it's a sign of the times.
And I'm going to do this one real quick. This is from Sam. He was on the website rather than on YouTube. So he said, "Why would you say the Integra will be a rebadged ILX? It's not remotely that is not remotely accurate."
Really?
Sam, you are right in a technical sense. The Integra is not going to ride on the same platform as the ILX. However, I was trying to make a greater point that, and I don't know this, I'll be totally honest, I don't know this, but it's certainly the way it looks, that in the near future, Acura will discontinue the ILX and the Integra will take that place. So in its own way, the Integra will replace the ILX.
And I mean, we don't know what the ILX or we don't know what the Integra is really going to look like yet, right? I mean, we've seen some teasers, and
we got a pretty good idea.
and I mean, I see a lot of ILX in there.
So I feel like in the sense that the ILX is built on the same frame as the Civic, if I remember correctly, right?
Yep, you're right.
It really, really, really looks like from these renders, the Integra is going to be built on the same frame as the Civic or the Civic hatchback. I don't. So far, Honda's press or Acura's press releases have said the ILX will not be replaced by the Integra. Every Acura rep I've been around has been like, the ILX will not be replaced by the Integra. The Integra is not a replacement for the ILX. I feel like with the amount of times they're saying that, it's probably because the Integra at some point will replace the ILX.
I mean, also, the ILX is an aging product. The Integra is a new product. You're not going to keep the old product around it's a legacy platform when you can sell the new Integra.
And
it doesn't make any sense to be selling an ILX based on the last generation Civic platform and then have an Integra based on the new one.
Exactly.
And they will compete with each other. And right now, Acura doesn't need any more competition. They just need something cool that people will buy. And maybe the Integra will be that, but it still could end up being basically, in a figure of speech, rebadged ILX.
In its own way, yeah.
I'll stick with it. But Sam, thanks for the comment. Good comment.
Yeah, no, Sam, thanks for the comment. I don't back down from what I said. You're right in a very technical idea that the ILX is not an Integra, but in spirit, I think I have a point, and that
you do.
You and I can argue whatever, but let's move on to the fun part.
Okay, let's jump on.
We were talking about, for a segment 2, we kind of we talked about some RV stuff, blah, 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 blah. I came up with this idea. Since Halloween is on the way, we are now, as of this recording, it's October 6th. When this goes up, it'll be October 8th. The Halloween season is here. Let's do a cheap car challenge. Let's ixnay the cheap part. Let's do a scary car challenge. So,
scary, ugly, something relating to Halloween, right?
Yeah. So let me put the way I thought into this, and you guys all could have your own thoughts on this. It's something that if you took it out on Halloween and drove it around, it would scare people somehow, some way. They'd be creeped out, whatever. So the rules for this, there's no price limit on this one. However, it had to scare people that would see you on the road, and you could not make any modifications that would permanently affect the car. And that means if you want to add some decals, if you want to add some fake blood, stuff like that, you could do, but you can't saw big stuff in, blah, 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 blah. Anything that you did had to be changeable. So come November 1st, this looked like a regular car again.
And let me just offer a public service announcement to all the listeners out there. If you do happen to, say, for example, dump a gallon of fake blood on your fenders and in your engine bay because you're taking a Mustang to a Halloween car show and you think it's funny, sometimes that stuff can affect the paint. I just want to make sure if you do decide to follow up on our challenge for yourself, be careful of the fake blood.
Do you know this firsthand, Smith?
He does know this because I've seen the pictures, and they're hilarious.
I cannot confirm nor deny that I stuck fake body parts and fake blood under the hood of the Mustang at a car show.
I saw the pictures.
The kids, I mean, most of them still came up and picked some candy out from the bucket. Some were afraid. That's fine. That's fine. It was a good time. Come on, it's a Mustang. Maybe the teddy bear that I gutted and stuck on the antenna and then poured fake blood over. That was probably,
I remember that part.
That was probably a little too far.
That might have been the bridge too far. Yeah.
That poor teddy bear met a very gruesome demise, but hey, it is what it is, right? So okay, so Kyle, can we let Kyle go first? Because Kyle, you're our guest.
Let's let Kyle go first.
And you've been talking about all kinds of stuff you've been seeing in LA. Let us have it, man.
Yeah, so the first one is just a really, really badly modded. Hold on, let me make sure this is ready to go. Okay, so the first one is just a really, really badly modified MR2 turbo. I think anyone that sees this on the freeway would strike fear in your hearts because you're going to get rear-ended at some point.
Is that a 10 or an 8? Sorry, is that 10,000 or 18,000?
10,000.
10,000.
10K.
Okay.
So that's a 91 Toyota MR2 Turbo.
Yep. It's got a giant spoiler on it. And from the looks of it,
it's got center mount exhaust on it.
Yeah, it is.
It's center mount exhaust. It's got like a wide body kit on it.
Oh, it's got ducts in the hood as well.
There are a couple things going on with this car for sure. I didn't notice that. It looks like the gear shift is a Dragon Ball Z thing.
Bravo.
Just noticed that.
It is. You're right. Yeah.
There's no steering wheel.
Steering wheel right now.
There's no steering wheel. Is this an autonomous car?
Yeah, this is where autonomous cars are headed. So yeah, this guy was one of the more interesting customs I saw when I was looking today. The best one I saw though.
Wait, no. You only get one at a time. We're going one at a time.
Oh, okay.
We'll go one at a time. So that's your first kind of scare 'em on Halloween choice. Well, okay.
Okay. Smith, I guess next because
I guess it depends. Well, let me just make another comment here on the Toyota. I guess it depends on what sound comes out of those twin center mount exhaust pipes. If that's a screaming machine, yeah, I can see it being a little frightening.
Yeah, I can guarantee it is.
I gotta be honest though, I kind of dig the car.
I kind of do too. You're not wrong. I kind of like it too.
Sweet. All right, Bruce, what do you got?
Okay, so Kyle, this is nothing against you. I just took scary in a slightly different direction. So okay, keep in mind, I said you can make modifications that do not permanently affect the car. I found this camouflage M998 Humvee H1 in Cleveland near me. And it even comes with, and I'm sharing the photos now, a trailer to carry with it that is also in camouflage. Now, I would never own this, but this is clearly a full military Humvee that has been decommissioned. And I started thinking, in the days we're living with it in now, what if I bought this and on Halloween I dressed up in
a T-Rex costume?
Oh, it's much worse, my friend.
And drove around in a T-Rex costume?
So a former Polish gas mask.
Oh my God.
And you saw it was that back end is just camo, or is just canvas, while some brave soul in the back, oh, where is it? There we go. Here is a full Polish military hazmat suit for $1,000. So you would have me in the front in a gas mask.
Didn't I see this on like a TV show or a movie or something?
You probably did. And so you would have, hold on, let me get back to the other one. Sorry, I've got a whole lot of screens to share here.
Oh my God.
No.
You didn't just pick a vehicle. It's like you picked a whole scenario.
Exactly. No, that's kind of what I was thinking. So wouldn't it be freaky? You take the canvas off the back. You've got me in the front in the gas mask. You've got a buddy in the back in the hazmat suit. You've got some sort of fake sensor, and you're driving around Main Street on Halloween. Like, that's going to scare some people. It is.
I feel like it would scare people on every single day other than Halloween.
You do that last year, about 4 or 5 days before the election. That would terrify some people.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Smith.
That could have had the cops called on you.
Probably. Smith, it's your turn.
What are you guys thinking of for Halloween? There's only one choice when it comes to Halloween. Everybody knows you got to have a hearse. Come on, guys.
Okay.
Now, as per usual, for our car challenges, this is a very long one-day drive for me. It's in Missouri.
That doesn't matter for this one. This one is pure money.
It's in Missouri.
Object.
This is a 1987 Buick hearse, $3,500. I found quite a few white ones. No.
Buick, not a Cadillac.
You need to have a black hearse for Halloween. You have the black hearse. It's got the blacked out windows. You drive around, you get like one of those skeleton suits or like a Grim Reaper suit. You drive around. You know what? I don't know. It's probably not going to scare people, but
it's good on Halloween, especially
if I'm driving around on Halloween, especially if you put like maybe some fake blood and body parts on it.
So I was thinking have the back hatch partially open and have a little skeleton hand hanging out the back.
No. You have the hatch open with a casket hanging half out.
Yeah, that would work too. That would work.
There you go. So yeah, this is it's an '87 Buick hearse.
I have never seen it. I thought they were all Cadillacs. I have never seen a Buick hearse.
In fact, here's some fun trivia for you. I actually once drove a Buick hearse. I didn't own it. The interesting used car dealership I worked for in college bought one at a local auction. Now the dealership, they were known for buying like work vehicles, cargo vans, cube vans, and regular vehicles as well. But they had a really good clientele for work vehicles. Why they bought this hearse, I have no idea. But I mean, it was in really nice shape. Mm-hmm. So they got it from the auction and brought it back. I mean, I drove it around a few times. I was a detailer. I had to clean it up. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I drove and detailed a Buick hearse. It wasn't black. It wasn't black like this one.
It was white, because those are the only two colors for a hearse.
It was. What was it?
It's got to be black or white.
Maybe it was black. I want to say it was like a brownish color, like a dark brown.
That's funky.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was. Hey, it was a hearse. This has what, 80,000 miles. Odometer rolled over
5 miles at a time, 5 miles per hour at a time.
I mean, that's
a good shot. I hope you're watching on YouTube. That's a good one.
That's a creepy shot. I don't think that there's any like blue lights or anything in there. I think it's just a really
the tint on the back.
It's just a really bad window tint. It's like a really bad old window tint, and it looks purple coming through.
It looks like there's accent lighting in the trunk, which I don't think the people back there will actually get a chance to appreciate. But
yep, there's a little lighting there at the back. Well, of course, I mean, you've got the rollers there in the middle that they slide the casket on.
So wait, do OEMs make hearses, or are they customized after the fact?
They send them to coach builders. Those are the only coach builders that are still around. They make Cadillac. I've only ever seen Cadillacs. I've never seen a Buick hearse before, but okay.
And without station wagons anymore, most are now done on SUV platforms. We actually did an article a while back about, I think it was actually a custom Ford Transit that was made into a hearse. 80,000 miles, title status missing. That's not sketchy at all. So you buy it. So you buy it with a bill of sale. It doesn't say the engine, but I'm guessing
it's got
87 Buick. It's probably going to be. It's probably going to be a 305 in there, to be honest. I don't think they would put the 350 in there.
Yeah.
So it's probably a 305. But yeah, man, Halloween, you got to have a hearse.
Whenever a Craigslist listing like that has less than one paragraph, I'm like, this car was stolen. Someone did not put any effort into this Craigslist listing. This car was stolen, 100%.
I want to meet the person that stole a hearse.
All right, Kyle, it's your turn.
But you could be right. All right, Kyle, hit us up with another one here.
Okay, so this guy is actually in Las Vegas, but it popped up on LA Craigslist. It is Cadillac Fleetwood 6-door sedan limo for $3,000.
Ooh.
When I was looking at the listing, that's where I saw some of the more interesting stuff. First off, here's the interior. I assume this is still there. There's a bed and some weird Buddhist imagery.
That's like a 70s like fur bed.
Yeah.
So here's what I wonder, because I was reading the listing.
I worry there's a lot of bodily fluids in that.
And no black lights.
Oh, well, first off, someone's been killed in this car. I think that's guaranteed at this point. You're buying it in Las Vegas. It's a limo. It's got this going on in the back. There's no way that someone hasn't met their end in this car. So here we go. Where is it?
There's quite a description there. Was
that
22?
Yeah,
22 feet of fun.
So powerful, legendary. I need to find what I was looking for.
So that's what it's got. The
Here we go. Okay. So powerful, legendary, blah blah blah. 69,000 miles. 19 to 22 miles per gallon. It's better than I would have thought. So only third owner. First owner was funeral home. Second was car collector / independent dealer. 3 rows of seats. Everything works as it should.
amazing shape for 25-year-old vehicle, blah, blah, blah. So what I wonder is if the first owner was a funeral home, if this was a hearse at some point, because I could definitely
that was what transported the family.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah,
Have you
the
ever seen
family
that?
would ride in that.
That's the family
and that
car.
makes me wonder if this weird Buddhist imagery in the back is left over from the funeral home and they just incorporated it into this bed. But yeah, no. So not only has this car definitely transported dead people at some point if it was working for a funeral.
No, I don't think that was a hearse because it's not a wagon. If it was a wagon, I would say that was the car that the family of the deceased rode in.
Got it. But someone has died in this car. I guarantee. There's no way it's in Las
You might
Vegas.
be right there.
This back seat. There's no way no one's died in this car. So yeah, I would not. And the car's haunted. There's no doubt in my mind that this car is haunted.
So Kyle, not to get too blue on this, but someone has definitely been made in that car. There's a child who was made in that car.
Oh boy!
Oh yeah, that too. So the
circle of life.
Yeah. That's a good
yeah,
point.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm scared looking at the outside of that car, but the inside, that's the scary part. That's
you see
the
the
creepy
inside
part.
of that driving down. You step in that, and that's your Uber driving down the Las Vegas Strip on Halloween. That's pretty scary. Well, any day of the year, really. That's pretty scary.
Yeah, I'll skip the Uber. I'll just walk to Tropicana. All right, that's fine. It's a nice warm night out.
But yeah, I have a lot of questions about that car. I just wonder how it went from being in a funeral home to being a limo.
A shaggin' wagon?
Yeah.
That is truly a shaggin' wagon. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like limo is a little bit too, that's generous for that car.
Okay,
all right, Bruce.
So I guess it's my turn. So this is one. This is a famous car in a certain sense.
Uh-oh. I like this so far.
We did not cover this on Motor One. I suggested it. It didn't get picked up. Let me make sure I'm sharing the right images. Okay. I'm going to do it this way. This is the Dragula from the Munsters. And as you can see, it is a coffin with a cabin on it and an engine. This was created by George Barris.
Mm-hmm.
And it is up for sale. It is going up for sale in January.
Oh, it is for sale.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. This will be, January 5th and 6th. Is that the date? January 6th through 15th. Sorry.
That's a cool Halloween ride, man.
And so you could legitimately own this, sadly, after Halloween, but someone could, for next Halloween, you could own this. And so I'm going to do something here. And for our producer, Martin, if you are watching this and we have to edit this out, I am so sorry. But I have the scene from the Munsters that this appears in. I am muting the audio so we don't have any issues.
Keep it under 8 seconds.
Hopefully it does less than 8 seconds of the quarter.
Under 8 seconds.
Okay, I'm going to start counting. So, Martin, and for anyone watching, here we go.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
There we go.
There it goes.
8, 9, 10, and I'm cutting it there.
Cut. Okay.
But that vehicle...
Screen used.
Yeah, this is one of 5. Like it says, George Barris car, who's probably the most famous car customizer ever. I mean, him and Von Dutch and those guys, he's certainly up there.
I mean, for Hollywood, high profile stuff. I mean,
yeah,
it's top George Barris.
So
I mean, there've been a lot of.
What's the sticker price on that?
So we don't know. Let me see. Mecum doesn't have an estimate either. But so next Halloween, if you wanted to be the king of cool, maybe you wouldn't be scary, but you could certainly dress up and look like, Alfred. No, what's his first name? Munster? Is it Alfred
Eddie?
Munster? No,
Eddie
Eddie's
Munster?
the kid. Eddie's the kid.
Eddie? I don't know. You're talking the
Mr.
Munsters,
Munster's
man. That's way before my time.
Eddie Munster's the kid. Anyway, I think it's Alfred for some reason.
The reruns are still way before my time.
Anyway, so that's my car.
I think if you're the insurance agent, I think you bring that into AAA on Halloween, and you're the insurance agent that has to appraise that car. That's pretty terrifying.
That'd be pretty scary.
True. Smith, number 2.
All right. Don't make any judgments on this one, but I'm thinking, okay, what's kind of spooky and scary, even on Halloween?
Oh, is this going to be the same one I had for number 3? I'm curious.
I mean, you got to go with the weird creeper van.
This was not what I was going to pick.
Man.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it took me a while. Now, again, this one is in Seattle. I can get to Seattle in one day. It's like a 15-hour drive. I know that's not part of the rules, but I try to justify my weird picks.
So, Smith, before we started the show, I was worried that one of mine might be in bad taste. My weird creeper van. I was worried. I don't know. Is that in bad taste to say the weird creeper van?
It's like the ultimate meme of spooky vehicles, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta go there. And this one this one
it's rusty
is just
and it's bad looking.
It's a 1979 Ford E150 van. It's got a raised roof on it, so it looks like it might have been like a conversion van at one point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's rusty, but it's like patina rusty. It's not like holes in the door rusty. Mm-hmm. So it still looks roadworthy. And the description says, not the prettiest, but runs great. It's got a 351 V8, lots of room in back, comfortable front seats, tires are good. It came due about 200 miles ago for an oil change. It needs new window and door seals. The side doors were electric for a wheelchair lift. Okay, there you go. I didn't catch that last part. Okay, you can kind of see it on the side. The side doors there are a little different. So it had a wheelchair lift inside. Mm-hmm. But I mean, yeah, you take a look inside. I mean, it's got like green carpet inside, but the outside, God, look at that. I mean,
so you're
seriously, paint the windows black. Don't tint, like spray paint them flat black on the outside so the paint runs down.
Mm-hmm. And
you don't have to do anything else to this.
You're not wrong.
Just drive around. That would creep me out. That would creep me out more on Halloween, I think, than any other night.
Let me show you the one I found, and it's the same thing. White panel van. I thought the same thing. I was worried. But yeah, driving this around on Halloween night, especially through a neighborhood, and just seeing parents stare at you while their kids are trick-or-treating.
Hey, like I said, we're just going by the rules here.
Yeah,
but
no, you're right.
I mean, you got to have the creeper van. And I mean, that 79 Ford, I mean, I looked at some other cargo vans, some cube vans, and then I found that one and just like, holy crap, this is perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I can't believe $1,800 is a lot for that period, but especially when you consider it's really more of a rental, because at some point that's going to be impounded as part of an active investigation.
Bam. Yep.
Good one.
Yep.
The one thing I was trying to find that I didn't know what to search for was like those anime wraps on the cars, like the anime like waifu wraps that you always see on really. For some reason, I always see them on Mustangs.
Is that an LA thing? Because I've seen one of those in my life.
I've seen a few here.
Oh, okay.
In South Dakota, if you can believe it.
Okay. It must be slowly moving across the country.
Like I didn't know if that you had to search for something. I looked like Weeboo anime. I didn't know if I had to like search for something specifically. I guess people probably take those wraps off before they sell the car, but
yeah, you probably would.
Yeah, I couldn't find anything on Craigslist.
Here, let me share one that I found, and here was what I was thinking: dress up in overalls and a hat, and go to a really rich neighborhood where people like line the streets with their cars so their kids can get the good candy, and just drive around in this Chevy. Basically like impound car and just like pretend like I'm gonna tow you. Like it's not gonna scare the kids.
Bruce, that's
it's
brilliant.
Gonna scare every parent.
That's brilliant. Oh, am I supposed to park here? Can I not park here? Just like troll around.
Did I park in front of someone's driveway? Are they having me towed? Yeah.
I mean, any town that has even a small college in it, all you got to do is drive around about 5 miles an hour.
Oh, you're so right.
Just stare as you roll by. Oh, that's a brilliant idea. I think it's
more disconcerting if you're like, oh, you're good to park there. Don't worry about it. I wouldn't trust that. If someone's driving that around and told me, okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. But you would have to like dress the part. You need a pair of overalls. You need a hat. And just start waving at people, point at a few people, make them think,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Sorry, did we lose Smith?
Sorry about that.
Super briefly.
I was so excited over the idea of buying a cheap tow truck and just trolling around that I actually clicked stop instead of trying to click over to my honorable mention that I was going to share here in a bit.
Show me your honorable mention. I just did mine. Do yours.
Okay, here's my honorable mention. If you watch or listen to the podcast, you know I have a penchant for finding some kind of muscly car use in just about everything.
Oh, did you?
So
I'm wondering because I might have found one of these and skipped it.
So I found.
Show me.
Okay, I'm trying to show it. Does that show up? Nope, that's showing up that's showing up my van here, isn't it?
That's the van, yeah.
Okay. I told you I clicked the wrong thing, and I'm on all kinds of legal over-the-counter drugs because I am a little sick.
Smith has been sick. He's really
I am a little sick,
and that's
here.
why we have a third guest to kind of pick up the slack. He's a sick guy.
Oh no, I'm not that sick, and Kyle has all kinds of cool
Kyle
info.
Does have cool picks. Yeah.
So here's my muscle choice for a Halloween kind of scare 'em, spook 'em, and this time it's a Corvette. Look at this thing. A C4 Corvette rat rod. This is in Austin, Texas. I would struggle. Cool. I would struggle to get there in a day from South
Again,
Dakota.
It doesn't. This is a price is no object one, so we're fine with that. That's
pretty
cool.
When the ad starts, not a daily driver. That's where it gets interesting. Apocalypse looking 89 C4 Corvette rat rod, built during the whole pandemic shutdown of 2020. Yeah, I mean, things were a little crazy. I built a sim racing cockpit. This dude built an apocalyptic Corvette. 2003 LS 6-liter V8 engine, Edelbrock manifold. So I mean, it's got the scoops that sticks out through the hood. It's I think he says he painted it in like it's like Kevlar paint. So I mean, it's just got this gnarly black kind of Mad Max look. Mm-hmm. It's got louvers on the back windows. I love louvers. The only thing this thing needs is, like, I don't know, some fake guns sticking out of the side, or maybe
a car you need to drive with a leather jacket with like pointy things on the shoulders.
Get a Main Force Patrol emblem to put on the side. I mean, it has a real Mad Max vibe to it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a Corvette. It's a C4 Corvette. They aren't extremely valuable. That would be
right now. They're not. No, they're
that would be a good platform to do something kind of crazy like this with.
Did they say why it's not a daily driver? Like, what's preventing you? Oh, the Misfits logo on the steering wheel.
Well, let's see.
It's pretty rough, Kyle. I think I can tell why it's not a daily driver.
No air conditioning, no heater, since this is a hot rod. Roof is removable, but it does have a CD and DVD player.
Attaboy.
you gotta roll in style. Racing fog light, upholstery, seats, fuel tank. When you list fuel tank as an option, okay, interesting. What else do they say here? Needs minor parking brake adjustment.
Okay.
So maybe you're just dragging it around. I don't know. Windshield wiper adjustment. Runs fast and strong. Recommend for weekend use or racetrack fun. $10,000. Which is actually pretty expensive for a C4.
Yeah, for a C4, yeah, because you could get a nice one of those at this point for like $8,500, $9,000.
Yeah, you can get a pretty decent C4 for under $10,000. So
yes, you can.
And it's weird to open up that hood and not see a TPI 350.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that they so apparently they think that their modifications added value to this car.
Well, I mean, it's different, right? I mean,
I'm not against it. I am against it for $10,000, but if that was a $6,000, $5,000 car, and I was like casting like a really good post-apocalyptic movie, I would buy that in a minute.
Yeah. Can we see here? There's an image showing the steering wheel.
I see it. It's wrapped in electrical tape.
It looks like the steering wheel is wrapped. It's like a classic. Muscle car, just a 3-spoke wheel. It's not the regular Corvette wheel.
But it's got a lot of tape on it.
It's got a lot of tape, and there's an image of somebody on the middle of that wheel.
It's the Misfits logo, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, is it?
Oh, okay. Good eye.
Is it?
I don't know.
Look at you can flip through it. There's some better pictures of it.
Let's see if I can zoom that in here a little bit more.
I'm looking up the Misfits logo because I thought I knew what that was.
It won't let me zoom in better.
No, that's not right.
No, that's totally it. Yeah, go to another. There was another image of the steering wheel, I'm pretty sure, somewhere. Keep flipping through the pictures.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Yeah, right there. Yep.
Oh, he's right. Yeah, you're right.
There we go. I didn't even pay attention to that one.
Yep.
I was so excited. And actually, looking at this, that's not electrical tape. That looks like it might be like a big piece of foam with some weird textured fabric wrapped around it.
And here, just so people know, Smith, I'm going to show the Misfits logo just to prove that Kyle is 100% right. Here you go. Just for anyone watching on YouTube, Kyle's 1,000% right.
Absolutely right. Good eye, Kyle. Kyle, did you have any other honorable mentions?
I had a really ugly Scion TC, but that was about it.
Okay.
I was tempted tonight? I was tempted to get an Aztec. I was tempted to look around for an Aztec, but I don't know. After Breaking Bad, they kind of aren't that scary. There's kind of a cult following. And I'll be honest, I almost bought one. I found like an 04 and 05 rally that was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people would just think you're a really big Breaking Bad fan.
Although just roll around in the Aztec.
Yeah, that's almost redundant with the Creeper van at that point.
Yeah.
Well, let's call it tonight then. How about that?
All right, let's call it here.
So, Kyle, where can folks find you if they want to follow you?
So I don't think any of my social media accounts are public. I would say if people want to follow me, subscribe to the Motor One YouTube channel because we can always use some subscriptions there.
Sure.
Yes, Motor One YouTube channel.
Yep. We're also on Instagram. We're on Facebook, obviously. We're on Twitter. We're on the web. Anywhere, any social media you can think of, you'll find Motor One.
Right. And Bruce, you are at?
So Twitter is my main one. Chris Bruce, 1987 or 1985. What am I talking about? Chris Bruce, 1985. Yeah, that's the main one. I technically have an Instagram, but I don't really post pictures there. So yeah, Twitter, Chris Bruce, 1985. Catch me
at CH Writing. And of course, we always want to hear from you. Email us podcast@motor1.com.
That's right.
Email us your comments. We still have a few weeks for Halloween, so we can come back and revisit this topic. So listeners, find some of the scariest, maybe the coolest, maybe some of the oddball stuff that would either be a hit on Halloween, scare people on Halloween. If you have a whole concept, a whole idea that like Bruce had with the Hummer and the hazmat team, hey, let us know. We would love to share this stuff. So podcast@motor1.com. You can always comment on our article that goes up every Friday on motor1.com. You can always comment on our YouTube video that goes up at Motor One Podcasts. What am I missing, Bruce?
You hit the major ones. As always, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. We appreciate all of our listeners, every single one of them. We love your comments. As you saw tonight and last week, we don't necessarily always have time to read every single comment, but if you look, I definitely responded to every comment I saw either on the site or on YouTube last week. Smith, you responded to several of them too. And
I got some of them.
So even as a sick guy, you're responding.
Oh, I'm so not that sick. I just a little bit of that sinus stuff. It gives me that nice deep like bass voice. Where I could do some good Darth Vader impressions or like what's the character's name on Jesus Christ Superstar with singing the really deep
James Earl Jones. I don't know.
Singing the really like he played Caiaphas on Jesus Christ Superstar.
This is not my realm of expertise.
Your musical thing. He gets those really. It's just the really deep. If you listen to this Jesus Must Die from Jesus Christ Superstar, you'll know who I'm talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys are dedicated.
Solution to our problem.
I mean, that
really deep stuff. It's the only time I can. It's the only time I can do this stuff. So when I get sick like this, it's a good thing.
No, it's not a good thing.
You guys are dedicated with those comments. I mean, Smith will be apparently on his deathbed still replying to comments on the video end. I do everything in my power not to read the YouTube comments.
Don't listen to Smith. He was pretty sick as of Monday. So I heard him. He was a sick guy. So trust us. The fact that he is still commenting is a big thing, but we appreciate it all. So good night, everybody. We thank you for listening, and bye-bye.
See ya. Bye-bye.